Hi FBC Lumberton students, this is the last video on our gospel series. If you haven't seen any of the other 3 videos on this gospel series, please go watch them. You won't really know what we're talking about. The very first question I asked last night was, what does the Great Commission say? There are 3 verses that I really want you guys to start to remember. We're going to add on to these, but for right now, there's 3 big ones that I think you should just absolutely know. It's Matthew 22:37 through 40, which is the Great Commandment. Matthew 28:19 through 20, which is the Great Commission, our purpose, and you guys know that one already. And Romans 10:9, which is the message of salvation, the thing that we believe about salvation. So here's the thing, as we started off last night, we started to recap on these names that we've covered from the other 2 videos. Emmanuel, King, Branch, Great Light, and Suffering Servant. There are more, but we covered those. And so here's the thing, we talked about last week how Jesus answered to those names, but then something interesting happened. He imbued those names upon us. So we dug straight in and we started to talk about how God kind of calls us these things too. In fact, the very first one is actually kind of a complicated one because we're not really going to sit here and say that we're God, right? We're not God with people. God tells us that we will receive the power of the Holy Spirit and we'll be witnesses, people who share His word, share His testimony to all of the earth, to the ends of the earth. If the Holy Spirit's living in me, guess what? God is living in me. What I'm actually saying here is God lives within every single one of us. And the living stones and the believers of Christ, He lives in us. So He calls us this other name. He imparts it upon us as His church. He restores His kingdom. So the next name we talked about was this King. God tells us again that He will give us the keys to the kingdom. This really interesting story about Jesus asking people who He thinks He is. And then He says, well, they don't really have it. But then He asks His disciples, who do you think I am? And Peter gets it right, and he blesses him for it. And he says that this is wonderful that God has given you this knowledge. And then He says, on this I will build my church. I will give you the keys to the kingdom. So God is imparting us on this reign on earth. And it's actually quite beautiful. Every one of these names He starts to do it to. This branch, where He is the true vine, this big branch. He says that you are the branches and you will bear fruit. So He starts to call us branches from Him, which means that we bear the fruit and it is beautiful. So then this next name, He calls Himself the light of life, but then tells us that we are the light of the world and that we should not hide that light and that we are supposed to, as Christians, show that light to a dark world. He's giving us these names. This last name that we talked about was this suffering servant. Well, it says in the Bible that it is granted to us that for the sake of Christ, we will not only believe in Him, but we will suffer. Now here's the thing, this is a hard pill to swallow, right? Now I just said, whoa. Kyle just told us that we were going to suffer. I ain't signing up for that. And it's true though. If we are to suffer like Christ, just as He was raised into glory, one day God will restore His creation to glory. You've all heard of heaven, glory to heaven, like we're going to get there one day. If we know that we're suffering for His sake, we will too rise to glory. In heaven, we will get to see and be a part of God's glory. So I'm willing to suffer for Christ on earth because it's a short amount of time. I'm willing to serve on earth and share the gospel to a dark world and be the light He's called me to be and be the branch that bears fruit. I'm willing to do all those things, and it won't be easy because one day I will get to see the Father in heaven. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something we should ignore. It is granted to us that we will suffer. It actually says in the Bible, for those who humble themselves will be exalted, and those who exalt themselves will be humbled. So I'd rather not live my life on earth exalting myself, trying to build myself up. I'd rather spend my life building the church up alongside other believers. The rest of the Bible is, well, a lot of letters from Paul writing to the church about how the church is supposed to be. And then letters that follow afterward were written for specific purposes, but it covers the same material. In fact, it covers the church and the gospel of Jesus and the revelation of Jesus. See, one day God will come and restore His kingdom. So we've tried to cover the Bible, the whole Bible in 4 weeks. It's been very difficult, but I think we've done it, right? Now see, this is the gospel. You have to know the bad news, you have to know the good news, and you have to know that we, the church, we're given this task. And we're called by certain names, and those names imply things about who we're supposed to be. I'll leave off with that, and I've just enjoyed the series. But guys, again, 180 Culture, I got the shirts in. If you want to bring $10 to pay for them, go ahead and bring that. We've already got them made. They're here for you. They're really cool. I like them. They're pretty nice. But come join, be a part of that. It's for young adults and youth. Please join us. The 20th, there's going to be a work day. For those of you who haven't heard about it yet, the 27th is going to be the launch conference. So I need you guys to tell me if you're going to be there for that. I'll be giving you more information as the weeks come on, probably this Sunday. That'll be it for tonight. Thank you so much, and I just really appreciate you guys watching these videos. Thank you.